What You Missed When You Didn't Exist. I am Corbett, and I am 22. Oh, no, wait. I'm 52.
I would hope I have not gained 30 years on my life since we last talked.
It's
That
been
would be
that long.
unfortunate. Well, I guess I'm 52 now. And you're 23, actually, so
Something.
Age up a little bit.
Oh, boy.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, welcome to the show.
This time around, we're talking about another John Hughes film. We covered Ferris Bueller's Day Off last time, and this time around we're covering The Breakfast Club. Why? Because everybody's complaining that I used The Breakfast Club. Oh, what's his name? I want to say Rooney. Now I'm losing
it's
my mind.
Dick Vernon. Richard/Dick Vernon.
Dick.
It's what Bender calls him.
I
It's
know.
Dick Vernon.
I know. We use that image of him like holding the devil horns because it's really what I would call probably the closest thing to the way I do things, which is me trying to be cool and being old.
Wow, that's kind of spot on. That's
Yeah, straight up. But people were like, that's not Ferris Bueller, that's The Breakfast Club. I'm like, well, yeah, that's a movie too.
And so we're doing it now.
We're
Lock
doing
in,
it
everybody.
So if you have not seen The Breakfast Club, you are really missing out. Honestly, that's a really good show. You should
Go
definitely
watch it.
just stop the show and go watch that. That's better.
And then come back and listen to us. And then it'll be great.
It's fine. This is what they missed. Well, actually, the funny thing is, you didn't miss this. You watched this. I know.
Yes.
You've watched this many times.
Well, it's a good show.
It is a good show. And it was critically accepted, I think, when it came out. If I remember right, it made $50 million on a budget of $1 million. They filmed it all in one school over several weeks. And they did it at night. Or was it at summer? I can't remember. I was looking at the workers' notes. I'm like, that's interesting. Tons of little bits in it. Okay, the basic story of The Breakfast Club is 5 people from 5 different social cliques. And I don't know if you know this, but in high school, people tend to group with their own type of people. And these are called cliques. Basically, one of each of these people from different cliques are brought in to a detention. A Saturday morning detention, which is kind of weird. I don't think I've ever seen a Saturday detention before.
I had a Saturday detention.
Did you?
Yeah, that was when you guys were going to go pick our house and we were allowed to pick our rooms. And then because I had Saturday detention, because I used my senior skip day skip, and I was not allowed to pick my room in our new house because I had a Saturday detention.
Yeah, well, that's your fault.
Oh my gosh.
Did you have nearly as much fun as they did? If they had fun. That's really kind of hard to say they had fun. We have fun watching them as viewers, but okay, so back to the story. Sorry. Just to sum it up, the 5 characters. Emilio Estevez plays Andrew Clark, who is the athlete, the jock. Molly Ringwald plays Claire Standish, who is essentially the popular girl.
Yes.
Ali Sheedy is the weirdo, plays Allison Reynolds. Anthony Michael Hall is essentially the geek or the smart one, or I forget. I should have gone through and written down the brain. I should have written down what he says at the end, because what he says at the end is very poignant.
Yeah.
And probably the most important one, and the one that's used in the silhouette of the shot for the poster, is Judd Nelson playing Bender, who is the thug, or the bad, well, not the bad guy. What would you call him?
The criminal. That's what they say in the show. They call him the criminal.
Nah, he's the thug. He's the tough kid. How about that?
Yeah.
Richard Vernon, Dick Vernon, is the vice principal, who is kind of a douche nozzle, to say it nicely. He is more or less in charge of watching them, which more or less he does not watch them at all. He comes in, they're in the library. The library is actually a really cool library. I wish I had a library like that as a kid. But they spend the entire movie in this school kind of waiting out their time, which I think they're only supposed to be there for 4 hours, and it feels like it's about 20.
I think they're there for the whole school day.
Is it the whole school day?
Yeah, I think they're there from 8 and then they leave at like 3.
Oh, that's right. They do have lunch, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Okay. So anyway, they're trapped in school, and it's really a waiting for Godot kind of show where characters sit and reflect on their lives and everything around them. And because they come from different social groupings and backgrounds and everything, it is involved. I mean, it's basically kind of a social commentary. They run into a janitor who kind of hates them because they treat him like crap and treat school like crap. And I think he's supposed to be the reflection of what Bender might become. I don't
I
know.
never thought about that, actually. That's interesting.
No, it's just a speculation. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of
That's
the
cool.
you kids, you're doing this, you're doing that, and he's not like telling on them or treating them totally like crap, and he could. It makes it seem like he's the criminal who winds up stuck as a janitor. So, not that he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
Actually, one commentary piece that I was looking up, John Hughes did a cameo in this as Brian's father when he's picking him up or dropping
Oh
him
my
off.
gosh, yeah. I do remember that. That's cool.
So he's the Brain's father, which is kind of funny.
Because that makes him the brain. Ooh, ego boost.
But yeah, you get a good reflection on cultural syntax and kind of the grouping that we deal with in broad sweeps. I would say the one thing that lacks in the movie is it has virtually no other races or cultures involved. They're all pretty much suburban white Americans in the 80s.
Yeah.
Not that that's a bad thing. It's just it kind of hits the direct cultural niche, and then that's what makes it resound, because you could kind of see these groupings in any high school anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a nice wrap up at the end where they're supposed to write this. What was it?
An essay.
An essay. Thank you. I was about to say a resume. They have to write an essay about why they're there and what they have to learn. And ultimately, the brain is the one who writes it. And he points out, you think we're all these things, but actually we're more and we're different. And this is really kind of the nice part, that people have more depth than the one dimension we tend to throw at them on first glance. One more tiny thing. And it was critically acclaimed. It made 50 times its money starting. I think it was a budget of 1 million. Yeah, budget. I said this before. Budget of 1 million. They made 50. So imagine if all these big blockbuster things had a budget of 1 million and they still made that money.
That's wild.
Think about that.
That is wild.
I want to say it was 2000s. They were slated to do a sequel. Just in case you ever wanted to know this. It was supposed to be a sequel with them, the actual actors, coming back in their 30s, like at the end of the 90s, early 2000s. They were supposed to come back, play their characters again, kind of meeting up as in a reunion or something. Same.
Oh, that would be cute.
It would, but John Hughes passed away, and it kind of fell apart. Did not happen.
Dang.
I don't know. It could have been cute. Could have been terrible too. You never know. Sequels. But at that, the concept though, it would have been John Hughes directing it. It would have been the original cast coming back. I hate to say it, it may have been a little cliche, but it would have probably still knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, people like to see the happy endings. You don't always get them.
Well, actually, I guess it'd be more of an interesting introspective to see if they became their parents, because Bender, that was his whole thing. Would he become his dad?
Yeah.
Because you really get this distinct impression that him and his father did not get along.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I don't know why I said distinct impression. It's pretty much straight up.
Yeah. I mean, he did an impression of them.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah.
That's why.
A very memorable one, for sure.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, such a good movie. Did this come out before or after Ferris Bueller?
It was after, I believe. No, wait, it was before.
Because after, then he had the budget to do Ferris Bueller.
Right. Because I believe, well, now I feel like I want to double check myself.
Insert
Ferris Bueller was 86. Yeah. No, Ferris Bueller was 86. The Breakfast Club was 80. 85 was Breakfast Club. Ferris Bueller was 86. Both Ferris Bueller and the Breakfast Club really kind of offer the defiant children theme.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say it's defiant. The fact that as teens you start to define yourself, and I think that's what the Breakfast Club really kind of entailed is children becoming adults, essentially.
Yeah.
And I mean, it is. I think you mentioned Friends earlier. It's what do you call a bottle episode? The Friends
Yeah.
episodes that are the most popular ones are usually the ones where they're stuck in a room or an apartment or something. And the bottle episode is kind of well known as a cliche in sitcoms, but this is a bottle episode for a movie because they're stuck in the library. There's one moment in the movie where they break out and kind of run and play around in the school, but they all wind up back at the library. So
Yeah.
they never leave the library or go anywhere else. They never do anything. So as far as the cost, it was pretty minimal. And since they're all a bunch of young actors, they didn't have any big names. It's pretty minimal too. I mean, these were going to become the Brat Pack famous kids that had to be gotten, but they were still a bunch of nobodies at the time, as far as is concerned.
Yeah.
Even the main adults weren't specifically well known. So for $1 million budget, pretty good.
Yeah, pretty solid.
I still go back to any current director. If you can make your film with the bare minimum like that, you can do it. But I see so many films that come out now that's like, oh, we had a budget of $78 million, barely had enough. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's quite the budget.
Well, we had to have the CGI squid fly through the air. Like, why? Sure, whatever.
Yeah.
You put your weight in your writer, and I think you're going to be a lot better off. This is written by John Hughes. It was directed by John Hughes. It was produced by John Hughes and Ned Tennant.
Wow.
So he had one other person to help him produce it, but it was basically all him in every single respect.
Dang, that's wild.
So anyway, what did we learn from this, Lucy?
Okay, so guys, I took notes. I watched the movie and I took notes, being the educator slash still student question mark that I am. As a teacher, you're a lifelong learner. It's just something you need to accept. So I took notes. I was thinking about it just from, I don't know, either a student standpoint or a teacher standpoint. Leaving your kids alone for a detention is not detention. You're just making them sit in a room to do whatever.
Very true.
No person in the world has the authority to just tell you to sit down, do nothing, and write this essay for 8 hours. So I just thought that was wild. Also, I think it's funny to me because kids these days don't care about detention. Granted, in the movie, they don't really care about detention either. They don't think it's world ending. But I feel like detentions were more of a kind of threatening thing that would be world ending if you got one. And I don't even know what teachers do now to sort of say, hey, like, you're going to get a detention, because kids go, okay, and like, what else? well, I'll call your parents. Okay, call them. See what they say, if they care. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no way to scare these kids. They've just been through too much, apparently, and they just don't care anymore.
So children now need to learn fear.
Oh yeah, kids don't get scared anymore. That's wild. Also, leaving them alone to their devices, wild.
Kind of dumb. Yeah.
Really dumb. But also, it's a good thing because so many teachers like Dick don't exist anymore. Because you can tell that he actually says it in the movie that he stays in the job for the money, which, wild, because he's bragging. He's like, I got my $31,000 a year salary. And I'm like, wow, that's still kind of what teachers are getting paid now. And it's been like 40 years since.
Well, to be fair,
80s.
he's a vice principal. So that's big vice principal money.
Still wild. And he should have been fired for threatening the students and leaving them alone and giving them one bathroom break. Granted, in a movie, you don't want to see bathroom breaks. That's kind of not fun to watch. But there's like one time where he's like, who's using the bathroom? And that's at like 11 o'clock. So they use the bathroom once for the whole day?
Yeah.
What is the point of the horns? Do you know?
You mess with the bull, you get the horns, because the horns are what is the dangerous part of the bull. Though I would guess the 1,500-pound animal stomping you into the ground would be the bigger part, but I guess the horns are considered a threat.
Yeah. Meh. It's one of those things.
But back then you were pretty much threatened physically on a regular basis by teachers who didn't know how to handle it.
Okay, but
And
that's wild.
I hate to say that's normal, but that's kind of normal.
Ugh, jeez. Yeah, teachers don't do physical now. I think, okay, the role as a teacher has changed because I think, like, way back when, you were a teacher to teach.
Mm-hmm.
And now you are a teacher to teach, but you're also becoming a counselor and you're trying to, ensure the safety of your students, making sure they're doing okay. And sometimes you are a tutor and you're trying to catch them up on what they missed and make sure that they, can understand what they're doing. And you are an extra parent, like you're trying to help support them if they have any extra activities that they want you to show up to. Like you are a role model more so than a, just teacher,
Mm-hmm.
which is so awful that we still aren't getting paid properly. That's just one of those things.
Yeah.
Oh, I was rewatching it and I remembered you were telling me that it was problematic, that the movie was problematic, and I couldn't think about why, like for the life of me, like why it didn't hold up. Because I was watching it and I was still having so much fun. I think it holds up pretty well. But I realized it's probably because they use a gay slur in it. And then they also
Yeah.
make really bad fat jokes. Because Bender's like, there's two different kinds of fat people. And you're like, whoa, wild. And then I think in like general terms, the idea of calling Allison a basket case is like diminishing the mental health, like pro mental health image that we've been trying to promote
Right.
in
Well, I think the thing
society.
she's I think calling her the weirdo would have been off. I don't know.
Well, yeah.
But I mean, ultimately, she's the weirdo.
Yeah.
The kid in the group that's like just they just don't fit in with the rest of society. So she's the outsider. How about that? Sound better?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So that would be another thing of like why.
There's some aging to it, but it's not. I don't think it's nearly as bad as I don't know which actor it was that was saying that was questionable. I mean, yeah, there's a few parts where there's things that are normal to be said at that time, and you have to go,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, that's it. There's also a lot of swearing in it. What are you gonna do? if
I
you
mean,
watch
yeah.
if you watch the television version, it's all edited.
Oh,
There's a whole bunch of
really?
edited stuff in there.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Why would they wait for live television? They edit it out.
yeah. For television, whenever a movie goes to television, they'll. It's always the joke, the John McClane, yippee yay, mother trucker.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like I don't think he said that. No, that's pretty much what he said. Because you couldn't have little kids seeing that. You have to turn that R into a PG rating.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
clip a few scenes and change a few words, no problem. I will
Yeah.
say the Breakfast Club was added to the National Film Registry and added to the Library of Congress in 2016.
Whoa.
So it is permanently a part of history now.
Well, it should be. It's iconic.
Hmm.
It's a good show. It is a part of history. And the song, Don't You Forget About Me, lives on forever in history.
Yeah, the soundtrack was pretty good too. Oh, that's right. They do drugs in the show too, so that's kind of bad. I think I remember them cutting that scene in the TV version.
What?
Well, you
It's
can't have
so.
people doing
It's
drugs.
fun. Okay, people smoke so much weed now.
I
It's
know
just
that's a
part of
different world.
society. We're in the modern day. People do drugs.
Mm, but yeah, I think actually the whole dance scene in the library. I don't understand how the vice principal is like acting like he's on top of it, and yet for some reason doesn't even hear this stuff
Oh,
because
because
they
at that
are.
point he's in the basement looking at teacher files and is snooping through these like secured files on different teachers.
Oh, that's right. That's when the janitor comes up on him.
Yeah, and then he starts drinking a beer with the janitor.
Yeah.
Clearly very on top of it.
Yeah. These
Yeah.
kids. Yeah.
My gosh. Actually, I was so excited because at the beginning of the movie, there's that quote from David Bowie.
Mm-hmm.
They like put it in there, and these children that you spit on as they try to change their worlds are immune to your consultations. They're quite aware of what they're going through, which bing connects to the very end. But also just like throughout, like themes throughout, because they're teenagers, so they're talking about, oh, I'm struggling with this with my parents, and oh, I'm in detention because I did this thing, and like life at home, and what is life going to be like, and like normal high school things that you
Same
worry
worries
about.
everybody has all the time.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's the difference between the child life and the adult life. Because as a child, you really don't care. Like, life's going to be this way forever. It'll never change.
Oh, yeah. Just ignorance bliss.
As an adult, you realize it's always going to change and you're freaking out all the time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's crazy. But it's nice because they talk like through all of it. They have their fights of like, you just don't understand. And they're like, well, I've got this thing going on, so I kind of understand. So I think overall they're just a good theme of the movie, if you will. Could be that empathy goes a long way. And that's true for life in general because, Dick didn't empathize with any of the kids. He thought he was better than them. And so that's why he possibly might get fired because he did a terrible job. But also, like, all of these kids came out better from detention because they were able to realize, like, oh, I can put myself in their shoes and realize that, like, everyone's got their things going on, but, I can either help them through it or I can understand them a bit more and I won't judge them as harshly.
Good point.
Boom. Get schooled, Dad. And there's my lecture on the
No.
Breakfast
Well,
Club.
my question is, you said you had some Saturday detention. Did you learn that lesson?
Okay. Actually, here's my fun story time about detention. So,
Okay.
I got detention because I did senior skip day. What happened was the alternative for detention, because the principal and assistant principal that was there saw me. This was my first detention that I've ever been in, and they knew me because, let's face it, I was just awesome in high school.
And humble.
Yes. So they were like, hey, Lucy, you don't have anything you need to catch up on. Your grades are good. You just missed this one day. So if you want to make up this detention, instead of sitting in the office all day, because they had us sit in the front office instead of putting us in a classroom or in a library.
Or in a library.
Yes. And instead, I volunteered to run, I think it was a mile race that the student council was throwing on because they needed volunteers to run it. So I ended up running in a color run for my detention.
Okay.
So I did not learn that lesson. I instead got physically fit.
The lessons of the future are lost on you.
I empathize with so many people. I am a current teacher, so I think I know better than Dick Vernon on how to teach people.
Well, kids will keep making mistakes, so there's that.
Yeah. What, did you not get detention, Mr. Fancy Pants?
No, I got I don't remember ever having detention, but I know I was put into it was like the troublemakers classroom for a week. I forget what it's called.
The Troublemakers classroom.
Well, you're essentially put aside from everybody else for the day, every day, and I was in there for a week.
Oh, like an in-school suspension.
Yeah, it's like going to school jail or
Yeah.
something. I don't know what they call it, but it was annoying and it was kind of pointless. But because everybody's isolated, everybody's like crunched into the wall with like a cubicle where they can't see each other or talk to each other. You work on your schoolwork and you are in a room together.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty pointless, and we definitely didn't get to hang out and have fun. So, no partying in detention.
No partying in detention? Lame.
Yeah. Well, so this has been What You Missed When You Didn't Exist, the Breakfast Club. So don't you forget about us.
Yeah. Don't.